This is FX Medicine. I'm Andrew Whitfield Cook, and we're at the NHAA 100-year anniversary conference 2019, speaking with Michelle Boyd. Michelle, welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Now, it's not really 100 years this year, but the conference is run every 2 years.
Yes.
When's the 100-year anniversary?
Next year.
Next.
So we're actually officially in our 100th year. Yeah.
Right.
So the big birthday's next year.
Right, okay. Right, so quinoa cake and... Now, you've been running the centenary room.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about why you developed that.
Okay. I thought it was really important to create a space at this conference because we've got a captive audience. There's like over 450 delegates here, and we needed to have an area where people could come together and tell their stories and just reflect on our 100 years. We conceived the idea where we could bring some elders, some practitioners that have been around, our wise ones, the practitioner highlights, the superheroes, if you like, of natural medicine, so that they could impart their experiences, their wisdom. And it's especially important. I mean, I'm a lecturer of many, many years, and a lot of the students, they really want to know where we've come from. We're very diverse. We're very, I suppose, we're a group where we appreciate each other's ways of helping patients, which at the end of the day is the most important thing for us. So we needed to capture that history. Yeah.
Now I call them, not disrespectfully, but I call them the old greats.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of great there.
There are.
There is, as you said, there's so much wisdom. And I love the concept of this year's conference about remembering our roots, remembering the traditions. Being a nurse, and being one who dissed natural medicine in my more arrogant days, and being awoken to what natural medicine can offer in healthcare. It was really important to me, and it is really important to me, about retaining those roots and not becoming little doctors. And I think what you've captured here is absolutely brilliant. But you've done a lot of work behind the scenes, not just organising the speakers, the old greats, as I say, but also developing a timeline.
Yes.
This was incredible.
Yeah.
That really was.
Yeah, that in itself was an incredible experience, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about why you did that and what were your experiences along the way.
Well, it was really interesting. It came to be because the hotel wouldn't let me put any posters or anything up on the walls in that room. So after a few sleepless nights trying to come up with how we would present this, I started feeding all the information into a very big Excel spreadsheet. I have a wonderful student who is a graphic design artist, and she, with all the images that we'd created, that we'd gathered dating back to 1788, we created this timeline, which was over 10 metres long, which is wider than a billboard that you'd see out on the highway. And it's about a half a metre deep. And we've got a key. There's several lines of information, like all the name changes in the association, past presidents all the way up until our president now, Natalie Cook, fellows, and our journal when it started, and the different facelifts it's had along the way, but our birthdays, our celebrations, political issues, there's some really... Yes, there's a few of those. And in this centenary room, we actually got an olive tree, and everyone that's on the timeline was put onto these little green leaves and with little timber pegs put onto the olive tree. And the olive tree was to resemble peace, love and harmony, for herbalists and naturopaths, past, present and even future. And it created a dynamic in that room which became quite powerful. If you sat in on any of the sessions, the energy, the everyone joining together, there's definitely a groundswell happening with herbal medicine naturopathy worldwide. Hence the speakers that are here, and it's happening.
Now, we were mentioning earlier about even the assimilation isn't the right word, the similarities in how medical practitioners and herbal practitioners are seen.
Yeah. So
How many years ago was this?
But if you look at when the first fleet arrived, Sir Joseph Banks arrived. He's actually a botanist. He was trained by herbal women in the UK. He actually used to pay them for plants. And he put together, I think, what they referred to as a Garden of Eden. He had all these different plants on the ships and seeds and things. I think the seawater would have, mist would have interfered and killed a lot of them off, but there was quite a substantial amount of plant material by the time they got here. And within 3 days of the arrival, they had the convicts digging and creating a garden. Out of necessity because they needed food, but they also had a designated herbal medicine garden, and that was the medicine they used in what was then the tent hospital.
Right.
And it wasn't until the next fleet arrived with a prefabricated timber and I think it was copper hospital to replace the tent.
Right.
But you can read back then that the doctors, there was no... Herbalists were not considered any different to the doctors as far as healthcare professionals were. We were one and the same back then. We all had the same purpose, and they used herbs as their medicine. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, I think I've looked back with some old, in fact, particularly in New Zealand, I've seen this, some old pharmacies, and not the call boys, but the dispensing jars, the like decanters. So with the glass stopper, and you see gentian, valerian, not just ipecac and the 1980s quasi-pharmacy, if you like, things that for the old were considered the old emetics, the purgatives and things like that. But the more balanced herbal medicines, gentian and valerian, and these are stated there. Indeed, I think they're at what's called the PACE Centre in Brisbane, which is the Pharmaceutical Centre for Excellence.
Yes.
And there's their history of pharmacy.
Yeah.
What I think, though, is interesting is the evolution of drugs. And you look at, now we have stronger medicine. Yeah, that may be so, but there's also been a big push to find the safer side effect profile, which has been a big issue. This is where herbal medicine, I think, and nutritional medicine can help make medicine safer. And I think we've lost that. We've become disparate along the way.
Yeah. It's also important to realise that herbal medicines need to be dispensed appropriately by qualified professionals.
Absolutely.
It's definitely not an area for self-service because there can be safety issues, and there's a lot of the Australian public that rely on naturopaths and herbalists for their healthcare.
This is actually a big issue, isn't it?
Definitely.
We've seen non-qualified people posing as naturopaths.
Yes.
So there's an issue with protection.
Not helpful.
So we've also seen the lay public self-medicating and causing atrocious outcomes, particularly in one recent one shown on TV, with no guidance. And then you get obviously people with an agenda but no knowledge, taking away what could be beneficial for those people. So this is, I totally support, that you need guidance by a health professional. So with regards to the centenary room, what sort of things have you seen come out? I remember one of dosing, ethnobotany.
Yeah, nothing's really changed since the late 1800s, early 1900s. I think the first submission that went into the government was in 1920. We were asking the government to please register us, and the letter came back saying no.
And what happened?
And history's just repeating itself, and I think we've just got to be better at the way we communicate what we do, the evidence behind what we do, and it's substantial. To say there's no evidence is really crazy.
Absolutely.
I've done many of us have done study. There's a lot of PhDs here. I've done masters.
Absolutely.
It's like, if there was no evidence, what the hell did I write all those tens of thousands of words on with pages and pages of references?
Importantly, the consumer is choosing healthcare practitioners.
Yeah.
So what are the responsibilities that you see for healthcare practitioners, natural healthcare practitioners moving forward?
Well, they need to at least have a bachelor degree qualification, and then of course we have continued education, which is compulsory with our association. So we do all the things that we need to do to be responsible healthcare professionals, and then our patients appreciate that.
Thanks so much for joining us on FX Medicine.
Pleasure.
Hi, Michelle.
Thanks.
Love your work.
Bye.
This is FX Medicine. I'm Andrew Whitfield Cook.